Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. In the last video where I was hand pouring some of the baits, a lot of guys were commenting wanting to know what these composite molds look like. So today we're going to pour a few of these and show you what it's like. I'm going to get this plastic cooked, vacuumed, be right back, and we'll show you the color build. Alright, so we got our plastic all cooked up. Today it's going to be a pretty simple color. It's going to be a way to make a single color version of Morning Dawn. So we're going to start with this MF Violet Grape Changeable, and then we're going to add just a little bit of blue highlight powder. So we've only got about 3/4 of a cup of plastic, so we're going to start with about 20 drops. Alright, so we're going to see where that gets us. This is a really good color. So Morning Dawn is typically a laminated color where you have like two variations of like a pink or purple. But this is a really good way to make it out of just a single solid color. Alright, so we're going to add about 5 more drops. Then we're going to go with 1/8 of a teaspoon of this blue highlight powder. And get this all mixed in. Alright, so we're sitting at 25 drops of the Violet Grape Changeable and the 1/8 teaspoon of blue highlight powder. We're going to throw this back in the microwave, get it back up to temperature, and then we'll pour a few and check it out. Alright, plastic's ready. I'm going to pour a couple of these on camera, and then I'll turn it off, pour the rest, and then we'll check them out at the end. What I try to do on a lot of these is I'll start it up at the head of the bait, and you want to pour a nice, consistent, slow, steady pour, and just work your way towards the back of the bait. It's really windy today, so it's going to make this a little more difficult than normal. But just take your time. I wear these thick leather gloves when I'm pouring and use both hands to just try to steady the cup. And then you can see at the very end when I'm done pouring, I'll take my left hand and just kind of cut off what's coming out of the cup. I'm trying to get this to where you guys can see it. But yeah, we're going to pour just a couple of each of these, and then I'll pour the rest off camera just so I don't bore you guys with doing the same thing, and then we'll check them all out. And here they are. So we ended up pouring 20 different worms. We started with 3/4 of a cup of plastic, and we still have about half a cup. This is a great way to maximize your plastic and get a lot of baits for just a little bit. So we're going to pull some of these out. I know a lot of people wanted to know what the basically the finish of the bait looked like on these composite molds. And as you can see, it's still just a really nice, pretty shiny finish, because they make on the aluminum molds, there's CNC'd aluminum and then cast aluminum. And cast aluminum molds have a really dull kind of, if you ever seen the Berkley Power Bait, just a real dull, rough looking finish. As you can see here, these are still really nice and pretty smooth and shiny. We'll get a couple of these other ones out. This is a really good worm. I throw this on a drop shot a lot. It's about 6 inches long. You can see the bottom sides are all flat on all these open pour molds. But yeah, just really good baits. This finesse worm mold over here, I know a lot of times people use finesse worms on a shaky head, but if you can see, this bait is pretty thin, like at the head portion. What I actually like this specific worm for is throwing it on a wacky rig. You wacky rig this thing in the middle and it just has a ton of action. But yeah, really nice baits. This color is really good. Like I said, it's kind of like a single color of Morning Dawn, like a solid color. Just that Violet Grape Changeable with some blue highlight. And then this last one. Oops. And there it is. Yeah, just really cool molds. The finish is really good on them. I know that was the big question that a lot of guys wanted to know, was what the finish looks like on the molds. They're actually really, really good. I'll throw it up on the screen right here. They operate off of Facebook. To my knowledge, that's the only place where you can go and contact them and buy their molds, which you just scroll through their page, find the model number of the mold that you're interested in, shoot them a message on Messenger. They're always really quick to get back. You just shoot them a message, tell them which ones you want. If you have any questions, I'm sure they'll be glad to help. They've always been super helpful when I've messaged them about buying molds. Another thing, scroll down through the page and you're going to find they have a purge pile. The purge pile are going to be molds that have like a really, really minor defect in them, and they sell them at a fraction of the cost. I've bought molds from the purge pile, and to be honest, I don't even notice defects in most of them. They're great molds. Some of them you can even get as cheap as like $10. So if you're interested in hand pouring and trying to get the most out of your bait, definitely a place to check them out. And one other thing I want to touch on when it comes to these hand pour molds. So after I pour them, what I do is I try to just lay them out as straight as possible and let them cure. Plastisol in general, no matter what brand you use, I try to let them cure for 24 to 48 hours. But this is what I'll do. I'll go through, I'll lay all of them out as straight as I can. Because if I were to just take these baits and throw them inside a bag and like go ahead and bag them up right now, what's going to happen is whatever shape the worm is laying in inside the bag, it's going to cure to that shape. So everybody knows like a Zoom fluke. If you go buy a bag of Zoom fluke, or the Super Flukes, you pull one out, the tail, it always looks like this. And people have the boiling water trick. Take the tail, dip it in boiling water, straighten itself back out. But if you're hand pouring, it's always just a great habit to get into, to just lay everything out straight, let it cure for 24 to 48 hours, and then you'll be good to go. Yeah, I'll hang up on my injection baits and let them cure hanging straight like that. And obviously with open pours, you can't do that. So that's where I just come down here, lay them on a flat surface as straight as possible, let them cure. All right, we got a little bonus for you guys. While we're on the topic of hand pouring things, I wanted to touch on, so you'll see a lot of these baits. This is my 3.8-inch swim bait from Fat Guys Fishing that are all individual top injection ports. What you can actually do on some of these, not all molds, but some of them, you can actually hand pour these and get good baits out of them. Depending on the design of the bait will determine whether you can or you can't. Like my chatterbait trailer that I use for those fire crawls, I've tried hand pouring that one, it does not work. This one, however, does, but this plastic right now is around 360 degrees. I'm going to hand pour it a lot hotter than what I inject. So when I inject this mold, I'm usually around like 320, 330 sometimes. So you are going to hand pour a lot hotter. But all you're going to do is just pour it right down into the mold. You want to try to pour it kind of fast, because the way the tail is on this mold, you want it to be fast enough to where it fills the tail in all the way. This is also the first time today that I've poured this mold, so the mold is really cold. Heating your mold up, whether it's a heat gun or a hot plate or whatever, will help a lot. If you have hot plastic and a hot mold and you hand pour these, they're going to come out great every time. We're going to let this cool off, we'll open it up, and we'll see how they look. Plastic is cool. As I mentioned, we poured this hot, so you do need to wait just a little bit longer than normal for letting the plastic cool on these. But with this being a really cold mold and it being cold outside, it's going to cool pretty quick for me. Let's open these up and see what we got. Alright, so this right here, this is what I was talking about. On the second one, you can see how the tail didn't fill all the way. So that's going to be partially because the mold is super cold, and I may not have poured that one quite fast enough. But you can see the rest of these, tails filled in completely. Look really good, and you have great baits. This is another really good way to use all the leftover plastic that you have. So out of this, we poured these. We have one bad one. The rest of these are all good. And that one bad one is just, I'm going to chalk it up to being a cold mold. If we were to pour this one again, it's probably going to turn out just fine like the rest of these. But yeah, just wanted to show you guys another little trick on how to use your last little bit of plastic and how you can actually hand pour some of these injection molds. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Please like the video, subscribe, share the video with your friends. Let us know what you guys want to see next. We're trying to make a list of everything that you guys are suggesting down in the comments. We're going to do our best to make everything. We've got some really exciting stuff coming up. So yeah, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.